What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Iafrate from Crunch Time here with some breaking Lions news. Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell were both extended a day before the 2024 NFL Draft, which, ironically enough, is here in Detroit. Amon-Ra posted a video of him at Ford Field after he inked the deal. He's excited to stay in Detroit. And the Lions made Penei and Amon-Ra both the highest paid at their respective positions. Amon-Ra St. Brown inked a 4-year, $120 million deal with $77 million guaranteed, most guaranteed money out of any wide receiver in the NFL. And Penei Sewell inked a 4-year, $112 million deal, including $85 million guaranteed, which made him the highest paid tackle in the NFL at about $28 million annually. In Amon-Ra St. Brown, about $30 million annually. And we had this conversation on Crunch Time, and one thing I always said with Amon-Ra is get comfortable with that $30 million number. Because, again, it's people like to have debates what this guy deserves or what this guy deserves, especially for young players. It's not always about who's the best at their position. It's about always, it's partially talent, but it's who's next. Like, people try to compare Amon-Ra to Tyreek Hill. Oh, he's a slot receiver. No, it has nothing to do with that. Number one, I disagree with that sentiment within itself. But it also, Amon-Ra St. Brown was due for an extension. He's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and he's only getting better. Had a breakout season last year, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, and then, of course, Penei Sewell, All-Pro, Pro Bowler. So the Lions had to get this deal done for both guys, and they still are waiting on Jared Goff, which the two can't currently come to an agreement. I would assume that it has to do with the length. That's my guess on it, because I don't think the money, unless Jared's commanding significantly higher money than what Brad's offering, but I would assume that is more so the length, which I think will get done at some point in time. But they inked signed two players to an extension that are cornerstone pieces of this franchise. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a player that you just don't have any questions about. You don't question where he is in the offseason. What is he up to? The week before the game, what is he up to? You know he's going to work his tail off, and you know he's always going to be available. He's reliable. And I think that term gets thrown around. We had a guest yesterday, Mo Hassan, on our live show, and he said his quarterback coach always used to say to him, be consistently good, not occasionally great. And he used that term, Mo, on our show last night to describe Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's consistently good, which is what a lot of teams need. Not occasionally great, consistently good, and I would argue sometimes even great. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm happy he's stuck around. He's sticking around now. He's so integral to what this team is. I mean, they've been a top 3 to 5 offense every single year, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is your number one wide receiver. So that deal was a no-brainer. I'm so glad they got it done, and he's going to be in Detroit for the foreseeable future, and I would even argue even longer than that. And Penei Sewell, he is one of the best, not even tackles. He is one of the best non-quarterback players in the NFL. Easily one of the best non-quarterback players in the NFL. So this deal does not faze me either. You know, making these guys the highest paid at their position, they deserve it. I mean, I don't think there's much really to argue why they don't deserve it. Even the Bears fans or whatever fan base that looks at these contracts and says, wow, that's a lot of money. You must not be familiar with who these players are. They absolutely deserve the money. They are the cog in the engine in which makes this team a Super Bowl contender. They have to stick around. So I'm so happy it's done. And I'm so happy those guys got their money, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he's a 4th-round pick, getting fined up the ass last year and in just his career in general. And he'd make jokes about it. I'm sure he can afford some fines now, making $30 million annually. So I'm happy for Amon-Ra. I couldn't think of anyone more in Penei Sewell that deserved that money. And we'll see with Jared Goff. I assume it gets done. It's really just about the little things, maybe guaranteed money, length of contract. There's these things that have to be ironed out, which I assume will be. In the Lions, this is a part. You talk about a window. You got to keep players around. And with Brad Holmes, his ability to identify talent, I'm not as concerned with the money they're paying these guys. I saw that comment floating around by a couple different people. Like, they made these two players the highest paid at their position. Now, does the window shrink? When you have a GM like Brad Holmes who can identify talent throughout a draft and does it on a pretty consistent basis, actually hits on more draft prospects than misses by a lot, by the way, it's hard not to have faith in this team going forward. Even with Amon-Ra and Penei Sewell, 2 offensive players being the highest paid at their positions, does it mean that some other guys might not be able to stick around? Yes. So what? Brad Holmes will find a way to replace talent, and the players that you don't think you can replace, you sign long-term. Like a Penei Sewell, like an Amon-Ra St. Brown. These guys just don't grow on trees. They don't. Now, you could argue there's other players on the Lions, and just in general, you could be like, oh, we could replace this guy. We could replace that guy. You can't replace not only the talent, it's hard enough to replace that, but the mindset. I mean, Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra, the way they approach the game, that within itself is so hard to find. And that goes back to what Brad always says, finding Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes guys. These 2 players, and there's more, but these 2 players specifically, because they signed the extension, they fit that mold. They are cornerstones, and I can't wait for the future. And we'll see with Jared Goff. Like I said, I think it will get done. And you know what? Kudos to Brad Holmes for getting this deal done. I am not concerned whatsoever about the terms, the money, the price, the guaranteed money. I don't care. You had to get this deal done, and Brad Holmes found a way to do it. So I'm happy. I know you guys a lot of Lions fans will be happy. I don't think anybody's out there that would disagree with this signing. If you have any thoughts on it, please comment down below. I'd love to read it. What do you think of the signing? What do you think about Jared Goff still not getting a deal done? I'm not concerned. I think it is the length. That's my opinion, the length and probably the guaranteed money, but we'll find out more information as time goes on. But drop a comment. What'd you think about the deals, and what do you think about Jared Goff not getting a deal done yet? You can check our live show out. We're live weekdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Subscribe so you never miss a thing. And don't forget, drafts tomorrow in Detroit. So get your tickets coming out with the fellas over at Bookie's Bar and Grill. We'll be live around 7 until the end of the first round. Until next time, I'll catch you guys.